And they're basically they have 6 of these projects done in dispersed areas in the city. And Andy was talking at a conference I was at, in this Bay-Friendly Gardening conference in Berkeley. And he said that per inch of rain now, these 6 projects put 100 million gallons of water in the ground per inch on 6 little bitty projects. Now that's water supply. That's in situ. That's water in your lifeboat. So that LA doesn't, when the Colorado dries up, right? Anybody been reading the data on the Colorado? Lake Powell, ooh, those are going to be dry mud holes within the decade at the rate things are going. Within 7 years, it's looking like Lake Powell will basically be nothing but a mud hole. 7, crew. And the drought that the drought they're in, when you look at the tree ring analysis for the last 1,500 years of that basin, actually what we're going into is just what's called normal. And the real drought, when it goes there, lasts for 200 years, 500 years. So Andy Lipkiss, those guys figured out that within the Los Angeles basin, in averaging out the years, that the amount of rain that falls within the Los Angeles basin, if it was managed properly, they could meet 50% of the water need within the basin itself. That's a pretty good thing if you're going to get down to it. So, most lifeboats you're trying to bail water out, but the watershed lifeboat, your game is to put the water in the boat and keep it in the boat. And so I don't know what Santa Barbara's an interesting place because you literally have such a steep gradient with these little mesas and little terraces and fast-flowing systems and, lots of little bitty lifeboats all working the coast. And so you've got a bit of a different challenge. You don't necessarily have the same type of big alluvial aquifers, right? Alluvial sand bed aquifers like they do down in that system there. So it's going to be a bit trickier to figure out how do you hydrate your sponge. But I think the way I try to understand that from a bank account perspective, although I must admit this metaphor, it sounds really nice and everything, but then when I look at how people manage their money, it's not very compelling because we don't have a state or a federal government that has a balanced budget. But if we did, the concept would be your income, rainfall, precipitation, you should have, drum roll please. The death spiral's still going, look at it. I hate you, I want to kill you. This thing's like a little poltergeist or something. It's like this little poltergeist. I think it's loading, but below there, all the other images are still loading, and so until they all load to the bottom, it's not going to want to do it. Where was I? The bank account. Oh. So the game is the bank account, and the question is if you've got inflow into this is a piggy bank. Think of a mountain as a piggy bank, and you want the little slot you drop the money in to be interstitially spatial throughout the entire piggy bank to put it in, and then we got to figure out how big our piggy bank is, and that's your challenge here in Santa Barbara is you don't have big piggy banks. Like they have bigger piggy banks, i.e. groundwater aquifers, right? So different size piggy banks. How much you get for income, what's your allowance that Gaia gives you, that varies, we know that, drought years not. But the more you get, especially with climate change, the more we get, the more we're going to want to put in. And the question is our expense budget is we need expense side to meet the need for our liquid assets, but putting it in the ground is your investment in your 401k as far as I can tell, and you want to leave it in the ground as much as possible. And then we've got to expend it ourselves. And basically what I'm interested in is that you get this concept that everybody on the planet lives in a watershed. And your watershed is your piggy bank. And you got to balance the budget. Balanced hydrologic budgets are really important. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And most of us, you all included, live in a pipe shed. California is the most hydrologically modified place on the planet. More dams and more pipes and more pumps. 20% of the electricity used in the state is used to pump water. 30% of all the natural gas in the state is used to heat water. Single largest consumer of electricity in the state is the Tehachapi pumping plant to move it over the hill for LA. Whenever you look at water, you should see kilowatt hours and greenhouse gas emissions. And the carbon footprint of providing you water is huge. You got to get it from its source, and then you got to pump it. You might have to clean it and pump it and put chemicals in it maybe. All that's energy, right? Cost. Then you waste it, you make it wasteful. And then it goes away, pump it, chlorinate it, treat it, pump it, dump it in the ocean. So 1 gallon of water source to sink, if you look at how much energy is embedded in that to get it to you from a faraway place, makes local economy look really good. Localization. So how do we get people? I do lots of tours and show people places. I got some money from the Coastal Conservancy to do a watershed education program. So we just put signs over, as you come over a ridge line into a new watershed, there's a little sign. It tells you you're having a watershed moment. Right? And you're going to get it. Imagine when Lewis and Clark stepped over the Continental Divide, they had a watershed moment, the Pacific Basin. Right? If you go right north into Montana, there's the triple divide peak. Arctic, Pacific, Atlantic. There's 2 of those on the planet, triple oceanic divides. Pretty cool spot for folks who are into this. See, the original word of watershed is actually a German word, Wasserscheide. Means the water parting. It's the place on the ridge where the water sheds and parts. In America, if you go to Australia or any other English-speaking country, they talk about catchments. Is the synonym for watershed or a basin or a drainage. And the watershed is the dividing line, but we collectively call the watershed the basin. But it's fun to figure out where they are. And if you've got one around, then I don't know, I'm trying to figure out the signage plan here in Santa Barbara. It's just going to be like a bunch of signs going all along, and it'll be fun to, somebody will have a GIS map and you'll figure it out and you'll find all those little points where there's proper places to put a sign. Go to the Coastal Conservancy and get the grant. And you can go to my website, which I'll give you at the end, and there's a little booklet that was published by the Southern Sonoma RCD, who was our collaborating partner on this, and they published a little how-to watershed signage booklet, and it's got everything in it. It's really easy. And the Coastal Conservancy is funding Santa Cruz right now. The Navarro's doing it right now. Are we Ventura yet there, Gal? Is Ventura going? Yeah. All right. Okay. Napa's working on it. Our game is to do the whole state. So here's a little watershed display sign that I got some Rotary Club money. And Dutchbill Creek and Salmon Creek are on either side in Occidental where I live. It's on a saddle. That town's on a saddle. And so we met some little fish trusses, and there's redwood from a tree cut down in town that we milled up on site. And this is a piece of artwork. You better look up, girl. I'm giving her props for her piece here. Sarah's like, hello. You have to pander to the locals, at least down in Ventura here. But, any creative way you can get it across to folks, that the foundation of life is water, and therefore it's got to be the foundation of design in the built environment. So here's your pave it, pipe it, pollute it, or slow it, spread it, sink it option, right? And here's this sort of, do you design landscapes to be dehydrative, desiccative, and degradative, right? This is images from the book over there on the shelf, Rainwater Harvesting for Drylands by Brad Lancaster, really good friend. Or do you look to a system that you play your little banjo on while you fill up your water tank and have your little infiltrative sponge-based landscape?